Farmer Dan, you're back, sir. How are you?
Oh, so great.
So great. Man, I was swinging by yesterday, your farm. I was running by and I got literally running. And I was like getting really excited. I was like, Dan's probably there. Because every time I see you just laying stuff down, moving the earth, I'm like, oh, this seems right. Like every time I leave, I'm like, right. Dan figured it out, man. I'm like, how did Dan figure it out? But it's, you know what I likened it to as I was thinking through. It's one of those inherently rewarding things that we all understand, but almost nobody really values. It's like, in my mind, it's kind of like teaching, right? It's like, if you ever spend time teaching, everybody's like, oh my God, the kids are great. Like, I felt like I was making a difference. Like somebody who really gets into it, they're like, and they were totally willing to hire me for $15 an hour.
Right. Yeah.
And you're like, how is it that you value these people so much? You know, and again, farming is the same thing. Like without you, we're all dead. But finding a way to make it self-sustaining and be a professional is like the holy grail.
Yeah. And well, I mean, if you look at over time, how many, like the percentage of the population that is a part of food or ag
production, right.
It's so low now.
Right.
And you know, there's obvious reasons for that. But yeah, it's not in people's face anymore directly, except for when they go to the grocery store and they're seeing like images of farms on the packaging. There's still the romanticism about it, but in terms of like the day-to-day of it, like people are just disconnected from it. And that's what's so cool about this one is like this farm is embedded as an amenity to a community. And the ways in which we can use the farm to like foster community, like we were talking about before we started, is just there's so many directions and ways we can utilize this type of ag for that thing.
That's what we were talking about right before. I was trying to remember what we were talking about. Because again, I went to Pocatello to see our friend Jess's TED Talk, and it was great. She did a fantastic job. Did at the university there, but every other store in downtown, like historic Pocatello, was an antique store. Like if every other door was even open, right? Because a lot of them are shut down, like old brick buildings. It was what was that? Kevin Bacon, Footloose or Flashdance? I think it was Flashdance.
Oh, you messed me up with it. I think Footloose was the Kevin Bacon one.
Okay, which is the one where the girl like dumps the water on her head in the opening scene? Like,
You're right. That's the Yeah, I think that's Flashdance.
Is that Flash? Oh, so Kevin Bacon was Footloose?
Yeah.
Okay, whichever it is. But, you know, like he's running around that town. That's the whole point. And he feels like anxious and like there's nothing there. And he finds himself in some like old ag building and starts like whatever the hell he's doing, right? Yeah. Let's dance. And that was with the fire and brimstone preacher's daughter, right? He falls in love with the preacher.
John Lithgow, right?
Right. And I didn't understand that growing up because obviously I was growing up in Northern California where, you know, kind of like a suburb of I was in the Bay Area, right? But not like the fancy part of the Bay Area. And looking back on it now, it's like, man, if somebody's growing up there and they want to do something, there are a lot of options for them to do things, right? And you got to put the work in, and the economy there is absolutely savage. And you know what's interesting? Nobody has just one job there. Everybody's got to hustle. Everybody's got their main gig that they're working like 40 to 60 on, and then everybody's got a side hustle or two. And that's just the culture. Like there's no recreation culture. You live in this incredibly beautiful place, but you don't have people except the very, very successful engaging in like, oh, I'm going to go hiking today because I'm loaded. I'm putting down one of my side hustles. Yeah. Yeah. But again, opportunity.
Yeah. So what you're saying is like, that's where you grew up. Yeah.
And then seeing Pocatello and then understanding it's like, oh,
if you grow up, like you can like stay on the farm or you can, you know,
or
work in the fertilizer plant. Or, you know, there's a couple of things there. That,
if the fertilizer plant's staying in business, because Brazil is making most of our, like, what do you, like there's industry in Pocatello that used to be there and now it's gone.
Right.
And so it's kind of like, if there's an option for you here, and by the way, there's no other industry. Yeah. Like you don't have dynamicism here, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so that kind of just speaks to the stuff, like, you know, this is what's been happening. Wendell Berry called it the unsettling of America, going off the land and into the city and making a living doing that rather than, you know, off the land. So, Yeah, it's dwindling, and people aren't connected to it as much anymore.
You went in and got degrees in like business admin and stuff though, and you found your way back to the farm.
Right.
Why
Well,
is that?
I had no background in farming. Actually, I was city
So
born
I
and
shouldn't say
raised.
back to the farm.
I'm
You wandered your
yeah.
way to the farm.
I too am from the state that shall not be named,
Not be
and
named.
I came in '94, so grew up here. But and then fell into it after college. I got into reading like Wendell Berry and Michael Pollan. He was huge at the time, and
He was. I told you he was a client of mine, right?
yeah.
He's the one who I learned how to do whole hog roasting from.
Did pig,
Yeah. It was awesome. Anyway, yeah.
And like I'm like, wow, you got to meet Michael Pollan. Because he was like a celebrity to me. Because like it's kind of I started reading him at the end of college. Yeah, I got a degree at Boise State, business management, and like minored in history and philosophy, like nothing having to do with like plants or ag. And
I should get him on the podcast. I should be like, just jump on a Zoom with me, Michael.
Come on, man.
Come on, baby. Come on. Anyway, nothing to do with college or excuse me, plants, animals.
Yeah.
As your college experience.
Yeah, I mean, I loved his book on mushrooms too, and, psychedelics and stuff.
Oh my
Yeah, it was
gosh.
good stuff.
He like, did you hear
He's a
his
good
Rogan interview on that experience?
No.
That it was wild to hear him talk at length about it, and that just he is. Yeah. Anyway, you should listen to it. It was really cool to hear him just really dig into what it was. He said he had done. I think he like smoked the back of a toad or something, and he said the second he did it, it was like sheer force, like a rocket engine. Like, and he was on this rocket engine leaving the universe, and it was just sheer like explosion, like
the DMT
force.
one.
Yeah, and he said it was instantaneous.
Yeah.
And
Real quick though. Come back
real
down
quick.
but
Yeah, I don't think that one lasted forever, but he went and did all of these different things, and I also found it interesting.
What a cool, like, just curious journalist just followed on both of those things, on the ag stuff and that. He's a gem.
So you're reading this at 20, you're like, this sounds right.
And I'm like,
this sounds right.
And I'm like, I want to be a part of the producer and not just a consumer, like supporting the local. And at the time, like, the local ag stuff, that was huge. Organic was big. And so it was like, it was very exciting getting in at that point. And then just fell in love with the work immediately. I interned at a great place and ended up taking over that farm 2 years later. And anyways, long story short, now I'm here. Doing a like 2-acre market garden for a community, and it's wonderful. Got lucky twice landing these things because it's very hard to get into. Like I'm not in a position to own land. I don't have that kind of money, and so there's a lot of people like me that want to be farming, want to get back to the land, but it's like, how do you do that? And so thinking of creative ways to do it, like a farm is an amenity. Like, awesome.
Right, which it is, because a lot of the communities that farms like this, the community that you farm at, right, that is built up, and it's not built in a way that everybody can have robust gardens in their backyard. So they don't have the opportunity. So it's like, okay, instead of adding extra land to each of these plots, let's give them access to something they can participate in and engage in, and like really get in there with a professional building, dude. Because the funniest thing with like, when I got my first house, I built these garden beds. I had dreams of having garden beds that were waist high.
Yeah.
So I go and price. Oh yeah. So I go and price out. I was going to get this 2x12 redwood, and like I was like a young kid, right? I'm like, oh, this will be great. And so I price. I'm like, measure everything out. I actually had my garden area. It was like a little bit of a rectangle, it was like 10 by 15 or something. And I was like, I know. Instead of having a couple rows, I'm going to make it like a G. So you could walk the middle and then reach everything without moving. So I just, turn and spray like this, and whatever my cauliflower,
Great way
whatever.
to do it.
Thank you. I can't, it was like, that was just like popped into my head. Yeah. Got it. Right. And the interesting thing was, interestingly, it worked, thank God. But also, I priced it. I'm like, this will be great. I'll just do three tiers of like the 2x12s. It was going to be like $4,000.
Right. I was going to say,
like, holy cow. So I'm like, we're going to go one layer, please. Thank you very much. And then I ended up taking like, I had to remove sod from this area and I like threw the sod back in and just like dumped, bags of soil over it. So now if you dig too deep in that garden bed, you get the netting from the sod. I'm like, that's not organic. But again, my point is, I had this great love for gardening in the first year, but even by the first season end, I had heirloom tomatoes, like the size of this tissue box, just rotting on the vine. Because I'm like, I don't have the energy for this.
It's hard.
And so having somebody who's a professional that can keep the garden going, keep the mini farm going, and people can come and engage in it as much or as little as they want, but they still get the fruits of that labor. I think that's such a cool way of doing it, because you can like educate the kids, and you can have sleepovers or things with private schools that want to experience.
Right, we had them stay 2 nights last.
I can't believe I didn't come and scare the hell out of them. That would have been great. Like,
right. Because I went in one of our tunnels, one of those caterpillar, and you could have pressed on the plastic.
We could have done like a Blair Witch Project kind of thing.
Oh gosh, they were like 3rd graders. That wouldn't have been cool.
Listen, everybody wants to leave a legacy. They would have remembered me forever.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but like that point, like, and that, one of the things we debated when we were like getting this farm kind of off the ground is like, do we devote a section of it to like where people can rent a plot and do their garden there if they don't want to do it at their house? Because gosh, a lot of times you don't have the house set up, the sun's all weird, and it's like you only get it for half the day. It's like, well, you could do lettuce there, but tomatoes aren't going to do well because you need a full day.
Yeah, right.
And so we decided not to yet, and that might be something we implement later, because and like every community garden, like some are run really well, but most, especially if it's not run by like a dedicated person, they go to. I'm sorry, but they go to shit. And later in the season, the weeds are bad. They're not coming to water because they're going on vacation and stuff. And so it's like, so we decided to
this is a terrible idea. You'd have to have an HOA for the garden, which is like, hey, Frank, you're not pulling the weeds and they're infecting our other boxes.
Yeah, all those weed seeds are going into the other plots.
And then somebody's going to somebody will come and weed it out, and then Frank will get really mad that somebody touched his garden bed. And he's like, I pay rent for that. They're like, your thing was ruining my thing. And then you have, it's like a mini state that shall not be named. All over, like everybody's just at each other's throats.
Yeah. So we decided, okay, let's just make this a functioning market garden.
Somebody puts a flag in their box and like, get that flag out of here.
This is my area.
Somebody puts weed blocker down and then just puts a political sign in the middle, and they're just in everyone's heads. Damn, exactly.
See,
I would do that just to mess with people.
I know. I know. You totally would. So that's partially why we decided not to do it. And so we're just we run it as a market garden. There are a lot of things we do differently. We care about aesthetics a lot more than another, like there's a bunch of awesome working farms down the road. They're gonna look different. They're gonna do things a little differently, but so we do think about a lot of different things with this particular operation. But all just to say that, we're trying to run it as its own thing,
sure,
and not have the there's community involvement. We have people come and volunteer and stuff, but it's very structured and part of and it's its own. I'm trying to say yeah. No. I understand. May I ask you a question? When you were talking about the big movement as you were getting into ag. Big movement for organic, big movement for local. Mm-hmm. There is an inherent cost with transporting things from other countries. I had Brett Wilder in here, who's an ag economist recently, and he's also a world grower and big into it. Listen to him.
Yeah, he's great. There's an inherent cost to saying, hey, Mexico can grow onions for $4 a pound, and you're growing onions for like $6.50 a pound, and therefore we should buy the $4 a pound onion. Like, we don't get it both ways, right? Because there is an environmental cost that's subsidized by everyone else because nobody's paying for the damage in transporting onions from Central America up to Idaho, right? Like, and I'm not saying it's astronomical. I'm not saying it's, you should write policy around it, but it should be at least somewhat considered, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It is a tough thing, especially when we're talking like commodities versus like,
specialty crops or something.
Right. And yeah, I'm a believer in both. We need both. And I'm never going to like it. I think we want to like have a robust anti-fragile system that can absorb shocks should they come. And I think we kind of have that. There's a lot of farms that could pivot to growing and selling more local. We do need a better infrastructure, and that's where like the local food movement needs to like. We need to start getting better about integrating vertically in the supply chain and like and working on making a local thing a little bit more reliable and consistent.
What does integrating vertically mean?
Just like just like the way Big Ag does it now, just like it's through the whole system. Like I don't know. The example I always use are like, how do you get a Tyson chicken to Costco for $6? Well, they own the chicken the whole way through the supply chain. And
there's no middleman,
right.
independent enterprise. It's like, I have to make a little profit here. I have to make a little profit here. And you do the profit 4 or 5 times. And then it's like, well, the chicken's $20 now.
Yeah. Yeah. And so right now we're all our own individual islands, are these small farmers selling directly to consumers and stuff. And it's great, but there's a cost thing. Like, not everybody can afford a $30 chicken. That's pasture raised like that, and so and we'll get there though. And there's always the flat screen TVs used to be an incredible amount of money. You have to have like that, and then you build the system that gets that to the market cheaper, and so. Yeah, that's a bigger topic, and obviously,
sure.
But
plus, like Fair Idaho does a really good job of connecting the smaller.
Exactly.
So it's like instead of having 10 different islands, they're like, hey, if we all get together, we can win that contract.
Exactly.
They're only giving that contract to somebody who can make 10x what we individually make. But if we band together, we can get that contract, and then we get the value of supplying that person locally. That person benefits from gaining, like having the local stuff, and everybody wins. And then you don't have to go to like the dude in Michigan.
Yeah. Yeah. So and Fair's doing so much great work, and it's coming. But like, I'm just saying that's where we need to go. And to get back to your point, when we're getting onions from other places. It's also good to have that too, because not everybody can afford that. Like, I'm more of a free trade person. Like these things should be voluntary, and we should view it as trade-offs rather than a right or wrong. And so like in weighing the trade-offs of like, yeah, we can ship our onions from Mexico, or we can try to work on doing it local too. They're going to be, onions that's easily shippable.
Sure.
And so but if we're talking like lettuce mix, man, it's a huge difference if you're getting it from Central Valley, California, or from me, just based on like how long it's going to last in your fridge. Like
it was alive 45 minutes ago.
It's exactly. Like I'll cut it that morning, and then it's in people's fridges, and it'll last a month. Whereas like you get lettuce from a store, you're lucky if it lasts a week.
Dude.
So there's the trade-off.
You have a quality and functionality that should be considered. And I get what you're saying, which is like, look, this is easy to ship, so that's not even that big of a deal. And I get what you're saying, which is, hey, look, the price differential and everything is a consideration, and we should have choice, right? Like we should allow people, if somebody wants onions at the cheapest possible price, then they should be allowed to purchase those at the cheapest possible price, theoretically. Yeah. Especially when you're dealing in ag, there was a student of mine a long time ago got into ag like for a minute, and he was going off on these rants back when like people looked at Facebook. This was like circa 2010 or something, right? Before it was just the dumpster fire it is today. But he was like, look, you can get hung up on organics and stuff. And he was like, but what you should really do is buy local, right? Because like your organic stuff is still going to be grown in like mass scales. It's still going to be owned by large corporations.
Exactly.
And that was the time when natural versus organic was also in a hot marketing battle, because the natural like essentially didn't mean anything, and people were
Right.
trying to sub it.
Organic at least means something.
Yeah,
You have to
exactly.
get certified and stuff.
Right. And his point was like, we're not all going to be, it would be better if we ate food that was more locally produced and processed. It's like, okay, cool. Like, that's great. And then, of course, coming into the conversation about tariffs and ag, it's like, yeah, we could do a lot of things. We could do a lot of things that are grown or developed or produced in other countries, but that doesn't mean it's always the best thing. Like, is it best that we get lamb in Costco that was, harvested 4 weeks ago and had to get on a tanker ship to come here, right? And is at the best 4 weeks old in that Ziploc thing. It's like, that's not best, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's not great. I'm not saying it's the worst thing. Like, I'm glad that we have lamb in Costco, but it's also legit if you can just get after like Boise River lamb.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm that way too. And maybe part of that is because actually we don't certify organic on the farm. I'm one of those that we could, but like based on time, and I'm direct to consumer with I'm shaking the hand of the people like eating the food. And that's got benefits for community, but it also means I get to like show them like, look, we don't have like Roundup even in this like area, like, or whatever, and I can show what fertilizer we're getting and all that stuff, and talk about our practices and say, hey, look, we're diverse, so we really don't have we of course we have pest issues, but like we're not spraying anything for it,
right?
Because like it's not getting into one thing because we're so diverse, and so
can we talk about the moneymaker that you're avoiding? Can you just start growing chickens? And because you could be charging like the Dry Creek Egg Factory, like or something. Like you'd be $10 a dozen.
I was in the egg thing for a while. The other farm that I had, we had about 120 ducks at one point. We did duck eggs, and so. And gosh, they just barely pencil after you feed them and stuff and all the work. I calculated that what I was making once, and it was like $1 an hour. With my time and washing the eggs. No. So it's like until you start doing like value added stuff or scale up enough to like afford because we were hand washing the eggs, and duck eggs get notoriously way dirtier than chicken eggs. So I'm washing every single egg. And not enough money to invest in the little
machine washer,
mini machine washer. And so it's like, it just doesn't pencil out.
Oh my God.
So it's hard. It's hard. Yeah.
So bottom line is, even if you charged like $8 a dozen for chicken eggs, let's just say you had,
they were $6 a pound, or a pound, $6 a dozen at the time.
Okay.
And in 2012 or whatever.
Sure.
And that, it just, that's.
Wait, it was $6 for a dozen. Oh, duck eggs.
Duck eggs.
A little specialty.
Right. Exactly.
Right,
so specialty, but still like, it needed to be closer to 10 a dozen, but like the market here wasn't going to support do that. Like, and I was in the co-op, and they were like, you can't. It's gonna have to be. We're gonna have to wholesale it for, or we'll pay you.
Yeah, right.
I think I was getting 4 for it when I first started, and then they were selling at 6. So,
gotcha.
And it might be a little bit more now. It would be a little bit more now. I wouldn't do it for less than 8. But, anyways, it's the margins on eggs is actually pretty small usually.
That's wild, man. Because you think about it, it's like, listen, just throw some food. They do all the work. They do all the work. Like, they make the egg, they hatch it. You just go in there and fight them for it, hose it off, call it a day, pack it up. But again,
you got to feed them though. And
I believe you.
And like we were buying 2,000 pounds at a time from the Zamzo's mill in Meridian, and driving that back and baling it and all that stuff. So again,
it just does
more work, and
could you grow? Because I mean, obviously
at that scale, like if I had invested a little bit more, I think we could have made it work, but. Again, trade-offs and deciding what we wanted to focus on.
Would it be possible for you to grow some amount of produce like corns or grains or whatever that you like, so essentially make your own chicken feed?
You can. I actually talked to it. I'd used some feed for a while. The guy out in Marsing was doing some stuff. It was good, but then the ducks started not laying as much. And
Zamzo's knows what they're doing.
They really do. They really do. And they were switching. They were on their way. I don't know where they're at now, but like they were on their way to not having any GMO feed and stuff. And so like I liked what they were doing, and it's good high quality stuff.
But you got to go get it.
But I had to go get it. And no matter what, I was going to have to go get it. Like growing your own on your, then you're talking about like, I didn't have tractors and stuff. Then you're talking about like, and I didn't have the space to do that, because you're going to need a lot of space to make that kind of thing. So, all the grain stuff. It's a lot. And that's, it speaks to the interconnectedness of like the whole ag system. and you know, not knowing enough to know what like needs to happen like it in every situation. So I don't feel comfortable commenting on like onions coming from Mexico, like because there's so much
There's so much
going on and stuff. I do know that I advocate for like a robust system, like I said, and you know, looking at the trade-offs of freshness in particular. And then the other one I wanted to touch on was like just community, and that being able to shake the hand of the person who's growing your food, or at least maybe as one removed, because we do sell some like McIntyre's meat at the market and stuff, and you know, I even we'll try and do like a little field trip to the orchard that I buy fruit from that's out in Emmett. Gem Orchards where we get most of the stuff, so like that kind of stuff, connecting people, like this is where your food is coming from, like literally coming from, not the grocery store, but like here, this land, the rain that fell on you fell on these crops, and there's something special about it. There's a connection there that's like real, but also like spiritual, I guess. Leaning into that is important, I think.
I'm telling you, I feel like this is one of those things that when you do it, it feels right. You're like, I don't know why. And then, you know, never being around that just feels weird. I grew up, I had I don't think it was a crap apple. It was like a Granny Smith apple tree in my backyard. Like green apples, but like we didn't fertilize it and stuff, and so it was fine. But like we also had a
worms
cherry
in
tree.
it, maybe. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the number of little holes.
Yeah.
Can you do anything about that? By the way, is that a thing?
Yeah, here, if you want to talk about that, if you have an apple tree, it's the codling moth that is the main culprit that
Damn it.
And it lays its egg in the flower, so that's a hole going out, not in. So you have to spray. I like spinosad, it's organic insecticide. It's still not great for bees, so you're still spraying stuff that's like, but you spray it at night so that you know you get less bees on it. But during flowering, you spray that like usually twice because it's 10 days in between sprayings, and then you can mitigate it.
Okay.
And that's it. And then after that, like we don't really have pests that are too bad, at least with apples.
Dude, I want to get a Honeycrisp apple tree.
Yeah.
So Honeycrisp, oh my God, I
so
eat those every day. Yeah, and so I had a cherry tree and I had an apple tree. I actually think we had an almond tree too, but we didn't, like my parents were not about that life where they had to like roast almonds. But it was like the green fuzzy pod, right? And then you crack it open and it was an almond. Never tasted like an almond every time I tried to eat it.
Right.
Roast them, right?
Yeah.
But like we had that, and there was something cool about just grabbing a piece of fruit off of the tree and eating it, even if it was like trashy, you know, green apple that wasn't fertilized with a hole in it.
Right.
I was like,
right. And somehow, and it usually is better than, you know, because who knows how long, you know, obviously the most famous thing for a garden is the tomato.
Right.
And there's a reason for that. I mean, like I don't eat tomatoes the rest of the year. I'm so spoiled now. I can't stand them from the store at any time of year. I mean, they're usually, most of the tomatoes we get, I depending on the time of year, but Florida. This may be a little outdated. There's a book I read, Tomato Land. I think it came out in like 2000, probably 13, 14.
Wow.
And like most of the nation's tomatoes comes from there. I mean, it's like slave labor situation, like really bad. Like they're horrible housing for the people, and they're picked green and they're ripened like on the truck with ethylene gas, which sounds worse than it is, because ethylene gas is what, like if we can do that too at the end of the season when you got a bunch of green tomatoes on the plant. You're like, oh man, this would have been great if these like could ripen up.
Yeah, right.
You bring it inside and you can like put them in a bag, and that's it's giving off ethylene gas, and that's what's going to help ripen it.
That's the whole like avocados and tomatoes or whatever. Put them in a bag. Are you supposed to put them there with a banana too? Somebody said the banana.
I think that because that's producing a lot more, because it's you know, bananas shorter.
Yeah, they're,
like
they're going out, man.
Yeah, and
so you put it in with a banana and seal
and
it
that
off,
helps
and that gotcha.
Yeah, so it sounds bad. He's like ripened up on a truck with ethylene, but like it's not gonna have the flavor.
Right.
And you know, when we when we were like breeding the types of tomatoes to ship, we wanted uniformity and being able to ship.
Yeah,
And
unbelievable
turns
pressure.
out the same genes, or the genes that, like, the trade-off in nature, if you want a shippable standard sized tomato, it's going to tend not to be as flavorful. And so, then you get these heirloom tomatoes. They're like gnarly. They got little scars on it. You got to cut those off. But like the flavor's just completely different than a regular tomato. So, I mean, that's probably the quintessential, like, that's why you grow garden tomatoes, because like it's just, it's a different fruit than what you're getting from the store.
Yeah, I remember I had very limited space, and there was this little bed next to my fancy G-shaped bed, and I wanted to grow more tomatoes. And so I took like the 2-gallon black container pot thing, and I cut the bottom out, and then I just popped it in there and filled it with soil, so it became like its own little siloed. So I had like 4 of these things on the fence line, and they worked. Like they all worked, and just skyrocketed these tomatoes. And by the end of the season, I had done like 3 cucumber vines, and I had the tomatoes and then onions. And dude, like by the end of the season, I was like, I cannot take one more like tomato, onion, cucumber, balsamic, salt, pepper, olive oil salad. But it was so good. Like, and these cucumbers were these gigantic fat, like, and it seemed like every day there was another one. I'm like, can you just stop for a second?
They're
like,
so prolific.
Yeah, they're crazy. There's also, we got later in life, because again, I still like enjoy it. My second son, actually, middle guy, he's so into fruits and veggies. When he was little, we had these tomato vines next to, there was a hill in our backyard, and there was a retaining wall, and we put the garden on the hill. I actually made this slick garden bed. We actually had to get help digging into the hill, put these posts in, and then we built this like terrace, kind of like we were in Japan.
Yeah.
And then I built stairs along the side. It was really cool. Anyway, but when he was little and we had these tomato plants, he was still in diapers. I have a picture of him, and he would walk over and just eat the tomato, off, like still alive. Like you could hear the tomato screaming. It was like, no! And he's like,
just on the...
Yeah, just on it. Like you couldn't get any fresher. It was still beating. Like the heart was still there. And he's just, man, when we go over there, the orange pear-shaped tomatoes.
Oh yeah. He likes those.
God. Those are the best. They have like black tomatoes and stuff too.
Oh yeah,
like
I do black cherry, and the Cherokee purple, and
the jerky purple.
A Cherokee purple.
A Cherokee purple.
Yeah.
Can you say that?
Huh?
Are you allowed?
Cherokee purple. That's the name of the variety. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're gonna have to.
It's one of the more famous ones. But
wow.
Yeah. But yeah, no, and that with the kids on the farm too. Like, I think my favorite might be carrots, because like they don't know. Like they don't know what it looks like in the ground a lot of times, and then you pull it out and they're like, oh, "That's a carrot," and you brush off the dirt. They don't even care about brushing off the dirt sometimes, and they're just
right
like,
in the mouth.
Yeah, and every year there's a customer will email me, even the CSA folks, where we drop off the bag, and maybe the kids not even coming out necessarily, but like. They're like, oh, this is Farmer Dan's stuff, and like they'll eat like a thing of bok choy. Like who would ever, like what kid would ever do that? But like they know it comes from the farm, and their parents have talked it up, and every year there's like something like, my kid never eats X, Y, or Z, but he will if it comes from the farm, and it's like, and now he's so into them, and that's what it's all about to me. Like I love seeing that, and that the way they light up when you pull up a carrot.
Yeah,
that's
you're
so
like,
cool.
That's actually food, kid. The thing that I find really, again, I think people have this romantic vision of farming. I think that's very clear. Just talking to you about carrots and like the density of the soil, like how you essentially dance with the carrot to make it dig down hard enough, but not too hard. Like, help me understand that, because there's an art to essentially compacting the soil properly to get the right carrot growth, right?
No, I mean, not necessarily. Like we have really hard compact soil here in this valley.
And is that better for carrot growth or worse?
Again, in nature, it's only trade-offs. So like if you have really sandy soil, it doesn't hold on to nutrients as well. And there's like, this is where my lack of like plant science kind of gets to me. But like there's like continual exchange, like cation exchange, and like the soil that doesn't happen as well in sandy soil. In more heavily clay soils, it can, but like it also like gets super muddy and it's compact, and like there's downsides to obviously clay soil too. Like the first year our carrots were like all shaped funny and stuff because they're like struggling to get down. And
because they're like moving through the less dense. It's like a lightning bolt. Like they're going to just go path of least resistance.
Exactly. And so that's if you get gnarly looking carrots, it's because that soils it's too compact. So we do we go no till with the thing. So actually, I'm not tilling. We broad fork, and so we're never flipping over the soil layers. We're putting we got a really heavy broad fork, and then we punch in the ground, wiggle it in. And in some areas of the farm, it really we have to work really hard to do that. And we pull it, and then
that's that big thing with like the crazy teeth.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And I mean, they're like knives on this thing, and it's still hard to get it in on a lot of places on the farm. But like very quickly though, like the second year, I put carrots in like I intentionally did it in the same bed I did last year to see if there would be a difference, and like a world of difference. They were no longer that gnarly thing they were in. So like adding compost and and doing the not tilling, because tilling I think in the end increases compaction. So for gardeners out there,
wait, back up.
Yeah,
back up. Okay,
yeah.
So tilling definitely disrupts the whole like carbon cycle, right?
Yeah.
Or like disrupts the microbiome rather.
The microbes, there's like layers that like kind of form after, a time, and you're just like, you're destroying that. You're pulverizing the soil. And then what'll happen a lot of times, and you're creating hardpan by the tines.
What's hardpan?
So like as deep as you ever go. And like think about like the rotating blades of a tiller.
Okay.
It's only going that deep. So every time it scrapes along that soil, it's like creating a really hard spot right there.
So right at the end where the circle goes.
Exactly. And so you're not getting any deeper than that. And
so then over a period of time, the like foot underneath the top of the soil is just...
It's because it's never, And then, but you're pulverizing stuff above it, and you can make it like a powder almost, but then it's going to settle even worse than before because you've destroyed the structure, the biological activity that was happening. Like worms are going to be the first to go in and kind of try to help with that, but like it's not as good. So
rototilling is a bad idea.
It really is, and I mean, Big Ag went away from tillage long ago. And I mean, they're doing mostly drilling when they're seeding and stuff. And, they just realized you didn't need to do it. And it's also a business decision because I do a heck of a lot less weeding, because every time you till, you're bringing up a bank of weed seed and you're continually like mixing it up. So, we use tarps, and then we, do the broad forking to get that, because we do need to break up the soil, and we do need to get like the air in there. So that the roots don't suffocate, because that, again, with clay soil, that's something that can happen. So, we do a lot to the soil, but also, rather than like
super aggressive,
right?
Mechanical.
We're working. It's like thinking about nature and working with nature, and like I don't know. I love farming because of like the intersection of chaos and order. And so like you got to play with the chaos, and you got to like leave that like crazy life that's happening in the incredible network of mycorrhizae and the microbes and stuff that are in a continual exchange, and like better thought of as one thing, even though it's a bunch of individual things. Like it's all one,
right, including us. Because we're messing around with it too,
100%.
and then it's like it doesn't care. It's
I wasn't
just in
even
a relationship.
there,
I mean,
totally.
my head just blew up. Like that's ultimately what this is, which is we're looking for something from it, right? The ground. We need to organize the ground in a way that yields something positive for us.
Yeah.
But along the way, we also need to do it in a manner that yields a better life for the earth too, right? Like we need to work together with this thing. It's like, let's just kind of like iron this one out, guys. It's not going to be that big of a deal. Somebody was telling me about weeding technology and killing weeds, that they have the electronic eyeball on like a 40 foot boom. And essentially they run this machinery over the field, and the eyeball looks for all of the weeds. So instead of just running down fields and spraying or doing like crop duster, like dusty hopper style, instead of doing that, it's like they have 100 little tiny sprayers that are like tiny squirt guns, and the eyeball knows exactly where the weeds are. So it's like as you go down,
it's like a laser, right?
Yeah. Like it's wild. And I mean, it's all happening as you just drive down.
We were talking about fire, like
right.
That's organic.
What, the laser?
Yeah. I mean,
How
that's
do you
not
mean?
that's not like leaving. It's not like a chemical that's going. So it's like just zapping it. It's heating
Oh
it up.
no, I was saying with like
Yeah.
laser targeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
What is it spraying
oh,
then?
there. I think it's like pesticide or
I I have seen like, and
herbicide.
I do think this technology is coming where like I guess it's something really been prototyped. So you can like put it in like a raised bed and have this like thing analyze the soil and like water when it's the right time, and then yeah, it'll go through and like zap weeds
it.
with like a laser. And I'm like, I mean, if that's the future, like I think that's a better direction than just like dumping chemicals on it. Like so,
That would be hilarious.
I mean,
if we get to the point when we have robots just
like,
rolling over
well,
fields, like
I think there's one
at
that
night,
I saw.
At night, it looks like fireworks.
Yeah, it'd be more like this. I think at least right now, it's going to look more like a Roomba on the farm, and like
Please God, let this happen. It's like
A
we're living
greenfield
in the
robot,
future.
yeah.
We're living in the future, Dan.
I've seen stuff. Yeah, I mean, stuff's coming, and a lot of it is these are like coming out of like regenerative ag folks, like thinking about like like it doesn't make sense to like because like on the farm, we strive to like weed the whole farm once a week, and by weeding the farm, we just mean we're dragging a wire weeder through each of the beds, and getting the weeds at thread stage, because once like if I have my crew get down there and on hands and knees like going like that, I've lost, because like that costs so much money to do it that way. So with using the tarps and then trying to keep up on it, which parts of the farm just go
Chaos.
get away from every time.
Chaos.
And that's the struggle for us, like small growers like that. Like it's just, and then so that's the goal. And if there was something like that, like, I mean, that's going to just like free up, like more time to make the operations like this more viable in terms of like time, and keep it looking better. And, weeds compete with the crops. So again, it's like, it's,
awesome.
because we are trying to like control nature,
Yeah.
in a sense, and it's like it's finding that balance of like how much control is too much, that it's like we're losing stuff by doing it this way, and again with the trade-off thing.
Man, it seems like there is no right answer, right?
That's the thing.
It's all how much work you want to put into it. Why are you doing it? Are you trying to make money? Are you trying to just have a labor of love?
Is it a hobby farm?
Yeah,
Right? Very different. And so the answer to almost every question is like, it depends.
It depends.
Like, but it'll be, I get that. I used to work at Samzo's, and people come in with a plant problem, and people want a single answer. It's like, it's usually,
it depends.
It depends.
My uncle was a cabinet maker for like 30 years. He's way into it, does incredible woodworking. And I was talking to him once, a few years back. I got really burnt out on tutoring, because I was doing, for the first several, like, it was like 12, 13 years, I was doing just one-on-one in-home tutoring. So I'd, put on my shirt and slacks and go to somebody's house and, go to the house, have my spiel, sit at the kitchen table, or sit, in that room where you only have Easter or Thanksgiving, and like do the work, have my spiel. And again, kids were doing fine. I'd go home. But when I essentially like hit my 30s, I was like, this is not, like, I'm making a living and my family is being well served by this. I already had kids by the time I think I had my first when I was 29, and my wife did. We had our first when I was 29. And I'm like, well, look, you're making your life happen. Like, you don't really have a place to complain. Like, there are people that are struggling to find a way. Like, you're doing fine, like, suck it up. But I would just sit in these appointments watching the kids like do this thing, just thinking in my head, like, what are you doing? And it got rough. I really like woodworking, and I built a lot of furniture in my house, and then somebody was finally like, hey, could you build me a table? I'm like, yeah, I could build you a table. Like, dining tables are notoriously super expensive, right? And anyway, so I end up starting to do woodworking. So I get a hold of my uncle, and I'm chatting with him about it. And I mentioned woodworking to one of my clients, and the guy's like, oh, come check this out. One guy has this full shop. He was a class action attorney. He's like, yeah, I just got back from doing a deposition with BP. I was like, British Petroleum? Like, okay. So he takes me, and he lives in some historic house. Like, it's a gajillion dollars. He's like, this is where, what's his name, president, like, made his president. I was like, don't tell him that I can't with you. Anyway, it takes me out, and he has this, like, shows me this chess board that he made out of, like, all these hardwoods at another guy's house. He's like, oh, come check this out. Like, all these dudes that are, like, just dying to do something with their hands. And he takes me out and shows me the cigar box that he made. And, it's gorgeous, like all this dark wood, all of these things. And talking about selling them at the farmer's market. So I mentioned this to my uncle, and he's like, these guys. I was like, what? Like, what guys, what's going on? And there are people that want to do this. And they'll go to, the farmer's market or like some craft fair with these cigar boxes and sell the cigar boxes for $150. And they're so excited about it. But in reality, it took them 40 hours to make. So he's like, they sell this stuff and they get really excited about it. And they're like, I'm going to start a business. It's like, that is not a viable business model. You'll never make any money, at least not money to even justify remotely calling it an actual business, right? Because you're making like $1 an hour, $2 an hour, whatever it might be. Yeah. And it was like, that's the problem. To actually do this, to engage in woodworking professionally, you have to do something that you can reduce the time, you can increase the margin, and you can do it over and over and over again and find clients over and over and over again. And I was like, oh my God, I can't do it. He's like, yeah, it's really hard.
Yeah. 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 And that is that's an issue. You brought up romanticism of the farm, and we have a lot of it in this country. It's like part of our history for sure. And it can be really bad. In fact, I was talking to an author once, who came to town just in ag, and she had a farm, and I went up to her afterwards, and I mentioned Wendell Berry earlier. I like his poetry. I like his prose and stuff, and I liked him as a writer, like as an inspiring writer, I guess. And so I brought him up, and she goes, "Oh, Wendell." She's like, whenever an intern or somebody wanting to work on the farm mentions Wendell Berry, I don't hire them because I know they're coming at it from a romantic position, and that's not what this is. Like, it's backbreaking labor in the sun, and we're not messing around. Like, and so, it can be, it's not a barrier, but like it can get people pursuing this path, and it, especially if you're like thinking about buying land and stuff. I mean, you're setting yourself up with like an enormous amount of debt going into a field literally that has very tight margins. And it's like, when are you going to pay that back? And like, so it can be a problem, especially in the age of influencers and stuff that maybe aren't telling you that like they're a trust fund kid, like making
or they're getting paid by people selling. Like, this is the whole thing. It's like, remember who made the money in the gold rush? It was the people selling the stuff. It was not the people finding the gold. Like, those people were just, all of their profit went to booze and shovels. Like it did. And whores, I'm sure. Back when you called them that, I think they were like, they're prostitutes now. Anyway, I don't know. But like that was the whole portrayal of the gold rush. It was like a bunch of dudes out there panning for gold, and they go into town, spend the money on like booze and women, and like then they...
But no, that was the rich people saying, no, you go do that hard work.
Yeah, like you can do this. Hey, I got the best pick for you too. This one's going to help you strike rich.
Romantic, you're on the frontier.
Yeah, like, I'm going to be my own man. Like you have, I think there is that so intensely, not just in ag, but I think in a lot of different areas of American industry, that I think people just feel detached from what's happening. And they're like, oh, like I'm going to show people how to do this. I have a buddy, very dear friend of mine, that wanted to get into buffalo. And he was going to become like a buffalo rancher. And he was like really, and he went and saw like a buffalo farm and all these things. And he was really into it. And I had Elliot Tolbert come in recently from Northwest Premium Meats. Really enjoy Elliot. And dude, he made this buffalo hump roast barria taco.
I really like buffalo.
Oh my God, it was great. And like, that's awesome. And I sent it to my friend who wants to do the buffalo thing. He like does the recipe, a whole bit, right? It's awesome. But then he was telling me about, like the welding that goes on in the fences to keep the buffalo in. Yeah. Because they're like 2,000-pound monsters.
And they can somehow, their huge frame, jump like a
deer.
A huge, like, there's no way that bison can get over that. And like from almost a standstill too, like an 8-foot fence, just boop.
Yeah.
Over on the other side.
And he's like, there were like I-beams involved. And like, I saw this clip just randomly a couple weeks ago where I guess these guys were unloading a fresh stock of buffalo onto the farm. And they had this like gigantic gigantic train. It was literally seen out of Jurassic Park with like the velociraptors, and they opened the gate and the buffalo would be like, brrr, it would like leap out. And I was like, holy cow. And then we were walking down near the corral yesterday, and they have the little rodeo steer there. And you just walk right up to the thing. And one of the steer was like, man, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And he was like, I was like, no, man, it's cool. And like, he kind of squared off. He's like,
are we doing this?
he's like, for real? I was like, you are marginally heavier than I am. Like, what are you going to do? And your dumb ears sticking out through the little collar thing. like, it's kind of like looking at a wolf versus looking at my dumb French bulldog. Like, this is not the same. Yeah. But like buffalo, it's one of those things. He was really into it. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think there's this huge untapped market for buffalo. Like, I think people are scraping by and doing the best they can. He had this idea to like get this SBA loan or like a USDA loan and just, dig in. It's like, maybe that's not the play, man. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really hard to get into. And, but yeah, just again, like the Instagramification of like our culture, like that's a big, again, I like, people see that and it's like, oh, I really want to do that. And
dude,
you're not hearing the whole story a lot of times. And
I had Mark Gee, who's a superintendent from Middleton School District, in earlier today. Really enjoy Mark. He's talking about a bond that they're trying to run. Really cool stuff they've done. But we were chatting beforehand. He's like, listen, like people have forgot that education is to provide as many avenues as possible when you graduate. Like people have forgotten that there's a real utility to education, because if we destroy the public education system, we're not going to have people that have any marketable skills for businesses, which means people that have marketable skills are going to leave because they're going to have to leave to find industry. And the people that don't have skills are going to stay and they're going to get into crime and things like that. And it was like, yeah, we're having kind of a frank conversation. And he mentioned something about
what education is for.
Right. And he's like, and podcasting, like, we got some students who want to, do podcasting. I was like, make sure they know they will never make money.
Yeah.
Because there's this idea, and I have engaged with a lot of people that want to make podcasts. People see mine and they're very excited and inspired, and God bless them, man, get after it. But what I tell each one, if it ever comes up, it's like, this is not a way to make money. Like, I've been slogging through this thing, not slogging through, like, God bless every second of it, but it's been years. And I would say I do it at a reasonably high level compared to like the Zoom call or Riverside podcasts. And it's so difficult and it's so hard to make $1, but everybody thinks the Instagramification, everyone thinks like, I'll just start a podcast, it'll blow up, money. Yeah. It's like money. It's just like there. It's like raining from the sky. Yeah. Do you know Mr. Beast?
See it in so many industries. Yeah.
Mr. Beast, did you know he takes a loss on the majority of his big videos? He's got the largest production crew, like literally the east of the Mississippi. On the East Coast, he's something like 200 people that work for him, all these things. He takes a loss on his videos because what he does with his videos is the big, crazy competition videos, those don't make money, but they drive traffic to his parallel channels, like his reaction channels where he's trying out like different stuff. He also has different brands like the Beast Burger and, Beast Energy Bar, things like that. So the actual content that everybody's like, oh, I want to make that. I want to do that. Mr. Beast is making money. He doesn't make any money. It's everything else he does, but he's famous because of those videos. And it's like, I just went and did a workshop with a national level council recently, because this particular industry is getting hit really hard by social media. And they hired me. They're like, you have done thought leadership content really well in the state of Idaho. Can you come explain to us like what social media is and if it's possible for us to communicate? I was like, yeah. And I was like, wow, I finally made money, but it wasn't from the podcast. Yeah. Like it was because of the skill sets and notoriety that the podcast gained me. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I'd love to come and explain this. I did. It was this 4-hour epic conversation, and they were like, holy cow, like I've never looked at it this way. It's like, it's really involved, but it works if you do it right. But again, they have kids like, I'm going to do that. It's like, don't do this.
It's the exact same thing in the ag space, or in the small ag and regenerative ag space. Is like, you can make money doing this, and they're at speaking gigs and they've written books, and that's how they're making most of their money. Or they have the it's their family's land or, all that stuff that they're not going to talk about because that kind of discredits what they're saying. So like, I'm glad a lot of them exist and stuff, but like we got to have that conversation and about the reality of the thing. And I had an intern a couple years ago that really thought she wanted to farm. CWI sent her over. She was at the horticulture there. And she was awesome. And then at the end of her tenure, she was moving back to Seattle. She's like, I don't think I want to farm. Like this is because she got to see it. And that was a huge success to me. Like to me, that was like good. Cause if I had romanticized it and maybe she didn't like hid how hard it is and how many hours it is, especially starting a farm. If I had like talked that up and said, no, you like it then it could have been that situation setting up for like, failure as a business and like a lot of, it can be a marriage killer. It was, because like it's just the financial stress of and just the physical stress of doing it sometimes can just be unreal. So anyways, being honest about it, that's become a kind of a really important thing to me. And then I saw that as a success when she's like, I don't know if I really want to do this.
Right. Because you have to have something. You have to have something that pulls you through. Yeah. The nasty, right? For me,
when the romanticism dies off, like
when the excitement dies off.
Yeah.
When it's
are you
not
still
going well.
And that, for me, I am still passionate about it.
Right.
And that after 10, well, I guess I'm 15 years now. Gosh, I started in 2010. Right. From scratch, I didn't know it, and I still love it, but it for different reasons than what kind of got me into, because I was a little bit more romantic about it and being on the land and stuff, and but gradually I lost it. But I found the romanticism in different ways.
Right. You find like if you're, and I don't mean, again, speaking of romantic, I don't mean to be overly emotional, but it's like if you're meant to do it, like there are things I'm meant to do. Mm-hmm. I am not meant to be somebody who deals with to-do lists all day and like gets really excited when I finish the day. Like I'm also not meant for busy work. Like I love math, but one of my great downfalls or eye-opening experiences is like you really don't like doing math every single night. Like this busy thing. You don't like, you like problems, but you don't like busy work. And a lot of math, especially in your earlier years, even in university, it's like, it's busy work. You got to like go through these things. And there's a place for that, but that's not like me as a person. It's like, oh, you don't like this. Like you like big ideas. You like playing with things. And I got into writing. I'm like, oh, this suits me much better. Like if you're telling me I have to like aggregate this information and then like put together this big thought, right? And like execute on this. So I was like, I like this, right? This is really awesome. Same thing here. It's like, I really enjoy this. I enjoy like all these things. But you, at the end of the day, you gotta have something that fits you, right? And I think we tell people like, do the thing you love, right? I think we tell people that all the time. And I think it also needs to be understood. It's like, you may not know who you are though. You may like like, what do you love? What do you love about it? Is it the idea? Is it the daily grind? Is it like, what is it? Because you got to have something when you're going through hell that like keeps you moving forward. It almost like an obsession. Yeah. Like I've spent the last, over the session, been telling people it's hilarious. It's like 170 episodes in 90 days. And I was up at like 4:30 every day, just going as hard as pushing my head cognitively as hard as I could push it. And it was like, looking back, and I was like, why did I do that? Like what was happening? I wasn't doing it for money. So like, what was I doing? And
I think about that with the early days of farming too. No, totally. Like,
Why did you keep going? Just like this obsession?
Yeah, no. Well, I was gonna like, what do we mean by love? And like, we think about the like, different cultures in the world, enact marriage differently. In our culture, like, I think we tend to say love and we mean infatuation. I don't know. Like everybody's gonna be a little bit different, but like. Maybe it's like the Instagram culture thing again. Like that's kind of what we sometimes mean, but like
it's definitely what some people mean.
Yeah, right. And
like you're not in love, you're in lust, or you're right. There's an aspect
that
of
everybody kind of knows what I'm getting
emotional
at. Emotional
connection.
So like you can like Mike Rowe is probably the best guy to like talk to. Like, he's got good thoughts on this stuff, and I think it was a I didn't watch it. I heard this relayed, so it might be a little bit off. But he was out castrating sheep. Do you know the story? Yeah, and this guy, like, it's just easier to do it
by
biting it off.
I had to listen to that like 3. I'm like, he didn't say he took it in his mouth.
And he was like, he did the rubber band thing. Mike wrote he was going to do it too, and he did the rubber band thing, and the entire time he's fighting this thing, he's getting kicked by it, but the other guy was just able to just do that,
rip it right off.
Rip it right off.
What did you say? Piece of Velcro coming apart.
Right.
Rip.
Yeah, and gosh, and the sheep or whatever was like, it was uncomfortable, I'm sure, in the moment, but it walked off and seemed fine, started eating grass.
Frolicking. I think he said frolicking.
And this other one, like, and
the other one, and the guy was ball on the rubber band on the balls, was like limping along in pain for days.
Yeah. And like, and then I think he said something like, he was like, okay, I'm not going to do that. But, and he's like, I love it. And like, not that he loved getting his face down there and ripping it off, but like, it's a different kind of love. It's it's a deeper love. And, I found that after a while with the work, and a non-romantic,
like functional love.
Yeah.
Like there's a love you have for your wife before you have kids. And then there's a love you have for your wife after you're like 2.5 kids deep and you're just exhausted and you're like, you got her arm over your shoulder and she's like limping and you're going down the hall. It's like, we're going to make it. It's like, that's your Vietnam. And you have a love for that person that it's like, this is different.
And it grows. And like, cultures that still do, maybe not necessarily even, doesn't have to be arranged marriage, but just like marriages that were set up and they dated for a very short time, then got married.
Right.
You can't love somebody like in the way we usually mean that, like and so it grows. Right. And it,
And those, I was speaking with Dr. Kyle Tobler the other day. He's a fertilization specialist. So he does a lot of IVF. He also helps people. I was like, what are alternatives? He's like, well, the alternative is like, you got to get after it. Right.
Yeah.
Which is, again, it was funny. He's like, but you have people that come in that, are married and you have to have this funny conversation of like, well, how often do you guys have sex? And it's like they hem and they haw and kind of go around. He's like, listen, man, if you're not having sex as much as you can in like the target time frame,
the window,
your probability is going to go down. And he was like, so you have these, classic American style relationships where people just don't connect in that way. But he also said that he but some of his patients are arranged marriages where these two completely sober-minded people come in. They're like, hey, look, we're not ever going to have sex, but we want to have a baby together. So like, what do we need to do? And he was like, it's like dealing with two committed business partners. and he's like, they're way in, like they want their genes to mix. They want this for their family and their extended family. But they're also like, this is a hard red line. Like, we're not doing that. So like, what do we do? And he's like, oh, okay. Well then in that case, we do this. They're like, great, we'll take option A. Like, when can we start? And it's like, oh, next week. It's like, great. Sounds good. See you guys next week. Like, it's just, it's a different, again, they have a different relationship. I don't know. It's not surprising. Okay. But what I've found interesting is that there is, I feel like a popularization of the idea that men and women become attached to each other in different ways, right? And there's this whole problem of like, women do not want to be physically intimate with men unless they feel emotionally attached to them, and men don't feel emotionally attached to women unless they're physically intimate with them, right? So you have this whole big, conflict, and I think that's such a cool thing to have out in the open. Where it's like, listen, this is where you get a lot of your disconnect. Like, let's talk about it. Like, and you should see each other like, here's one for you. And this is not about intimacy, but with my wife, I realized the other day, we're working on several big projects all at once. There's a lot of chaos in my house, a lot of moving.
You got
pieces,
a lot of irons.
A lot of irons. And I was chatting with you about them, just like a gajillion things, all good things. But I had asked her, or something came up and she's like, well, like, what about the air conditioner? I'm like, I don't know what the air conditioner. Like, I don't even care. And for the first time, I'm 43. For the first time, I really looked at us as this complimenting, couple, and just really like, dude, thank God she has me, and thank God I have her, because we're both firing on all cylinders. And I am this broad, bigger picture, force this, push it through, and she's going to be behind me, grabbing all of the little details I missed. And it drives her nuts when I'm like, forget that, we're going boom. And it drives me nuts when I'm like going for it, and she's like, hey, you dropped this one. I'm like, I don't even care. I don't even care about that one. Who cares about the black tea, right? Like, but man, what a great pairing. Like, that's this.
I got really lucky with that too, because like, I mean, my capacity at certain times of the year for sure is just so limited. I'm just, because, there's times where I'm working 70 hours a week. It's not too bad. I've managed to keep it like reasonable, but like, it's hard. And like, I'm just fried because of the heat or whatever. And I just don't have the mental capacity to like do the tax part of things or whatever. And the
tax part, and
fortunately, my wife is such a trooper and so good at understanding, and she's good at that stuff. So I got lucky with that too, with the pairing. And so, but yeah, no, that's a really good point. Like, we complement each other very well. And she doesn't do any of the farming stuff. I do know some couples that farm, but it's tough. You almost always, and even with bigger operations, there's off-farm income where that part, and that's another thing that often is not mentioned. is like, it's very hard to make a living doing just this,
right?
But either by that farmer or just within the household.
This is exactly like a public school teacher. Like, you can do it, but you better have a spouse that's bringing in some money.
It's so hard to do.
It's wild.
Yeah, teaching is probably a pretty good
analogy,
and because like I get some time off in the winter. It's just in the winter, not the summer, so but yeah, that's probably a good analogy there.
Yeah,
but and you're so right. Like, sounds like we both got lucky.
Yeah, I would like to think so. I mean, I have a very dear friend who I met when he was like 43, 44. And he was getting divorced, and he'd been married for 17 years. I've been married for 16. And I remember asking him, and like, he's went the corporate world and made a lot of money, and he was a good guy. And I was like, hey, how long you been married? He's like, 17 years. I remember distinctly sitting in this bar. It's called the Growler. I was like, oh, you happy? Just kidding. Totally just joking. He's like, no. I'm like, oh God, can I buy you a beer? Like, I'm sorry.
You need to talk. But
And I think about that a lot, where, you can reflect on your earlier years and people you knew that are now analogous ages. And I just feel so fortunate. It's like, oh gosh, I'm not in the position that my parents were in. I'm not in the position that, my buddy was in. I'm not in any of these life positions. And I have my own story that I'm going through. And it has been heartbreaking and grueling at times, but I like that story. Right. Like, I like, not even that, like, I like the successes of my story, but I like my story arc, where it's like, for a lot of different reasons. So yeah, I'm very lucky, I'd say.
Yeah.
God bless it. Dan, we've been chatting for a while, man. The screen just turned out this fantastic. Listen to me, your CSA people should get a hold of you if they live in the community.
That's the thing. Like, our CSA is pretty exclusive to Dry Creek.
Yeah.
Here. But we do have on-farm markets, and they might be kind of tough this year because, as you know, like the Dry Creek Road and 55, that's going to be closed till like August. So
is it?
Yeah, that's a long time, isn't it?
Wait, are they redoing the?
They're gonna install that light and stuff.
Oh, and it's gonna take till August.
I mean, they're doing some other stuff at the same time. But anyways, so come to that. Tuesday afternoons, 4 to 6, and then and over
Saturdays?
I think we're gonna have food trucks most nights, like just in that parking lot, like not in the market, but like and then
you had that donut guy like a year or two ago.
Right.
Oh, he was lit. Yeah, my kids lost their minds.
Yeah, the Saturday morning ones. I don't think we're gonna do that. But
Tuesday,
we'll see. But yeah, no, we're doing both markets. So Tuesday afternoon, 4 to 6.
Right.
Saturday mornings, 9 to noon. and then that's the way to get the produce for
That's awesome.
anybody that's open to the public.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm just really excited about the future of the farm. It is probably going to stay where it's at now. We thought it might move, but and there might be even some opportunity for a little bit of an expansion. I would really like to get more strawberries out there. Do more you pick type stuff.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah,
I would love for you to
stuff's
get
happening,
strawberries
man.
out there, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, we do the CSA and the markets, and then
Hey, real fast.
do that.
What do you do about like raccoons that steal the strawberries? I used to put
You know
cayenne
what?
pepper on them.
Oh, that's smart.
Thank you.
That's smart.
Yeah, I would say cayenne pepper or black
yeah.
pepper, and then they'd be like, and that was the last
You
time.
know, we did have some strawberries. I let them go because they weren't great for this climate.
Gotcha.
I have a different variety. I'm going to use it when we redo it. But they didn't get them. Like they're just. But netting is probably the easiest way to do it. Yeah, that's probably the best.
Not the pepper.
But well, just because what if you rinse that off? I worry about a kid going out there and like.
It's like Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Like
help is on the
it's
way.
so hot. It's I thought it was a strawberry. Why is my mouth burning?
Who was that actor? He was in the Thomas Crown Affair. Who was that actor? Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
Oh.
I love that movie so much.
What a scene, man. Yeah, I remember that so well. I watched that movie a lot when I was a kid. Sally Fields, man, she just ditched him because he liked the pony. Like, come on, man.
You know what? I rewatched that recently, and as growing up, you're like, Robin Williams seems like a great dad. I'm on her side now.
Oh, 1,000%. You're dealing with a crackhead,
Just
a crazy man who brings a pony in, and kids are dancing on your table, just wrecking your house.
Yeah. And keeping you out of the as she's got the big
breadwinner job.
And
he's just like, this ridiculous dude.
It's funny how it switches when you have kids.
Oh, yeah. He's an awesome dad. Yeah, it just gives me heart palpitations thinking about it now. It's like if I had a guest that got weird, I'd be like, you need to get out of here right now. Like, I don't have space or time for this.
Much less your spouse, right?
Yeah, plus it's like, can't you just be cool for your kids? Like, can't it not be about you? Because those parties, it's like, that's about you, character that Robin Williams played. You know, like that's about, it's not about the kid. The kids would have been fine with two friends over and a cake. Like, you made it about you and chaos and like ruined your house. That's on you, son. Yeah. You deserve to get your kids taken away.
But that
just kidding.
Yeah. But then the journey is he learns how to change that chaos into order and find the balance between that, which is what I was talking about with farming.
And then he was the original cross-dresser.
Yeah. Yeah.
On that note, Dan, thanks for coming in, my guy. Appreciate you.
Oh, those markets start in May.
Okay, right.
And then go all the way through October.
Gotcha.
May
through October.
That's where we run those markets.
Dry Creek Ranch, CSA, come get yourself some strawberries.
Well, not yet.
Not yet.
That's in the future. Not the strawberries yet. But yeah, no. The market's pretty full. I buy eggs and meat and fruit and yeah, hopefully some strawberries as well.
Hey,
we'll try to get some local strawberries.
If I start making eggs, if I start growing eggs, will you sell them at the market? I will hand wash them.
Yeah.
I want $8 a dozen.
Yeah. Well, see, I just mark it up, and I'm going to say who it is. And so if people have a problem with the price, I'll be like, they can talk to,
Okay, we'll make a deal. I'll sell them to you for $6. You mark them up to $8. We'll go gangbusters. It's going to be...
You're going to, I'm going to make that $2, and it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be great.
No, it's all about just getting the community and getting good food to good people.
God bless it. Dan, thank you for what you do, sir. I always appreciate you. Let's do it.
Thanks for having me.